How many terms in this series must be added to make 98? Okay. Now just to say, look, there is, in this series, there seems to be a really trivial way of doing this. If you got this question in an exam, it's absolutely okay to be clever about it. Look, when I look at this, you might say 98 is not a very big number. You might think I might get there fairly quickly. So at the moment, there seems to be, the series seems to be 5 plus 8 plus 11 plus 14. We seem to be going up in steps of 3 each time. So the next one will be 17. The next one will be 20. The next one will be 21. And if you took out your calculator and started adding these up here, what you should notice is by the time you get up to 7 of these here, you'll notice that they add up to 98. Okay, so it asks how many in the series, and you could see term after 7 terms, the sum is 98, or the sum to 7 is 98. So if you did that, the answer is, and said 7 terms, you would have to get full marks for that in the exam. The mathematical approach would be firstly to understand the question. So we look at the question, we see that going from one term to the next, we're always adding 3. So we'd write down or note that this is arithmetic. And it's asking about the total must be added to 98. So what the question is telling us is, it's telling us that the sum to something is equal to 98. And then it's asking us, well, n equals what? How many terms add up to 98? So we take out our sum formula. So in the book it says the sum to n is equal to, make sure I write this right now, is n over 2 times a plus n minus 1 times d. So there's the formula. In this formula we need 3 bits of information if you wish, or there's kind of 4 things in this formula if you wish. There's the n, there's the a, there's the d, and there's Sn. I actually know 3 of them, and the only thing I don't know is n. What I know already is I know that 3 is equal to the common difference, so I know my d value. I know my first term, a is just the first term, which is 5. I know that. And I know that the sum to n is 98. So rewriting this again, I could say n over 2 times 5 plus n minus 1 times 3, almost equal to 98. And in this equation, look, you have only one letter in it, n, so you should be able to solve it. So I'm going to neaten this up. I might double both sides just because I don't like n divided by 2 there. So I might, and I'm going to start multiplying out. So I might say n is equal to 10 plus, I'm multiplying this out, 3n minus 3. And that's to double this other side, I'm getting 196. Multiplying by the n, I'm getting 10n plus 3n squared. Actually, I might realize that I have 10 minus 3, which is 7. So I might do this differently. I might say that 3n squared plus 7n is equal to 196. I might divide across by 2. No, 3 won't divide in, so it just need this 3n squared plus 7n minus 196 is equal to 0. So I want to get the factors of this. I should have it already. N is equal to 7 was one answer. So it'll be 3n and n minus 7 is one of the answers. I'm just dividing 196 by 7 factors. So I got 28. Okay. Yeah. 3 7s are 21 plus 28. Okay. So there's 2 solutions to this when you solve this quadratic. One solution is n is equal to negative 28 over 3, and the other solution is n is equal to 7. Just a comment on this solution here, this negative solution. It doesn't really make any sense in a series to talk about a negative term in the solution. So I just reject that. I say that doesn't make any sense, and I say the answer is n is equal to 7. Okay. So I suppose in each case, this is what I'd be interested in. I'm interested to know what a is and what d is, and because it's mentioning sum in both of these things, it's mentioning these sum formulas, Sn and S20. I want to use this formula that Sn is equal to n over 2 times 2a plus n minus 1 times d. So I'm going to use that formula.
Oh,
So,
that's what.
yeah. So in each
Oh,
of
that's
these,
what
I write down what A is, write down what D is, and then use the formula. In the one that's just Sn, I'm just leaving n is equal to n. Okay. So what does n equal? So in the first one, n is just equal to n, and the second one where it says S20, I'm writing n is equal to 20. So really, I'm just putting into the formula the values for A, D, and N. Does that make sense?
Sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just for question 5, how would you do that different than 3, because it's asking for how many weeks other than how many terms of series?
Okay. So Anna saved money each week to buy a printer, which costs 190. Her plan is to start with 10. Put 2 more aside each week. Now, again, I know looking at this, there's going to be definitely less than 20 terms, so you couldn't really add this up, pretty quickly. It's probably going to be 15 or 16 terms or less than that until she has enough money. So, again, I want to know how many terms are in this. So, the question, I suppose, firstly, is n is equal to what? According to the formula, there's 4 things I care about in the formula. There's n, there's a, there's d, and there's Sn. Okay. We know, if you wish, what 3 of these things are. So looking at it straight away, I know the first term is 12. I know the common difference is 2. I know the sum to n is 190. I just don't know what n is. So all I need to then is put it into the formula like we had before. So what I do know is that... So
would A not be 10?
A is 12. I'm reading 12 here. So I started at 10. Sorry, I'm reading the thing wrong. Yeah. So I'm looking, so A is 10. Okay. So I just put into the formula. This is exactly like this quadratic that we had a second ago. So you're going to end up with n over 2 into 2a plus n minus 1. I put in my numbers here. 2 times 10 plus n minus 1 times 2 is all equal to 190. So again, you're going to do exactly like before. You're going to get a quadratic. You're going to get 2 answers. One is negative and one is positive. And then you're going to say what your solution is. Does that seem okay? What was the answer to 5?
Sorry, I got...
Yeah.
It's 10 weeks, but I got n plus 10 in brackets and then n minus 19, which is like n equals minus 10 and then n equals 19. Okay,
this might come out a bit quicker. So n doesn't equal 19. I can clearly see if you're saving a tenner a week. Look, if you saved a tenner a week, it would take 19 weeks. So I know this. I'm saving more than a tenner a week. It's going to be quicker than 19 weeks. So I know that's 10 can't be right just at a glance at the question. And it's why you could do this the trivial way. You could actually write it out just each of the 10 weeks and you see how it adds up to this. But let me solve this equation. I'm going to double both sides. So I'm going to say n is equal to 20 plus 2n minus 2. And that's equal to, when I double this side, I'm getting, what's that? What am I saying? I'm getting 380. Okay. Multiplying this out, I'm saying 20 take 2 is 18. So I'm saying it's 18n plus 2n squared is equal to 380. Half both sides, I'm getting, and put the n bit first, I'm getting n squared plus 9n minus 190, if you wish, is equal to 0. And I'm solving this. This is an easier one than the last one I had to solve. So the factors of this are going to be plus 19 tens, plus 19 and minus 10. So n is either equal to negative 19 or n is equal to 10. And again, because this negative one, I reject that answer and I say the solution is n is equal to 10. So that's where your 19 is coming from. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's exactly the same as the other. I suppose the key idea, look, when you're using a formula, this idea here, just write down what you have and what you want and just sub everything into the formula. So the big idea here is just that we have a formula, just use it, I suppose, you know. You get lots of marks for writing down the right formula, sub it in and solve it. Okay. Is it okay to move on from there, or is there any other question that anyone tried?
Sir,
question 8, what did you just use? Like, what formula do you use for that? I'm just kind of confused to it.
Okay, so again, it says series in it. So as soon as it says series, it's talking about adding up, and it says S5, so I know that it's talking about adding up. So straight away, I will be writing down this formula. So it involved the sum to n formula. Now, it's kind of interesting, the information it gives me. It tells me what term 4 is and the sum to 5 is. Okay? Would you be able to tell me, and it's asking to find the first 5 terms in the series. Now, maybe I don't have to use a formula in this, if I understand this. How would I get sum 5 if I knew sum 4, for instance? Okay, so supposing I knew sum 4, and I knew term 4, would you agree that the sum to 4 plus 1 extra, well, that's term 4, not term 5. No, I'm going to have to use 2 formulas. Okay, I'm going to change my mind. There's another formula that says term n is equal to a plus n minus 1 times d. I might use both of these formulas. I'm changing my mind. And I'm going to sub in the values, what it's telling me here. So this is a really good question. Thanks for asking it. And there's more than one way of doing it. If I look at the term formula first into here, this term formula has, if you wish, 3 bits of information that I need. It has an a d, and a term n. What I know is 2 of those bits of information. I know that when n is equal to 4, that the term 4 is equal to 15. Okay, so I know the n and the term n. So I should be able to, I don't have everything, but I'm going to write that into the equation. So if that's true, what I know is that a plus n, which is 4 minus 1 times d, must be equal to 15. In other words, it's saying that a plus 3 times d is equal to 15. That's what I can get. That's the information I can get from that. Okay. I'm just going to tidy this up as just where I'm placing things. Okay. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to get 2 equations and use simultaneous equations to solve this. So using the term n formula and the information that we were given that term n is equal to term 4 is equal to 15, I'm able to come up with this pink equation. Okay. Likewise, using the sum formula, I should be able to come up with an equation in terms of the sum. So I'm going to just color this. So using the sum formula, again, into this, there's 4 bits of information normally come into this. There's the n, the a, the d, and the sum to n. I know 2 of them. I know that when n equals 5, S5 is equal to 55. So what I know from that then is that 5 over 2 into 2 times a plus n is 5, and 5 minus 1 times d is equal to 55. I might, again, I don't like that I'm dividing by 2, but actually maybe it'll divide by 2 in a second. 5 minus 1 is 4, so I'm getting 5 over 2 into 2a plus 4 times d is equal to 55. So I'm halving both those terms. When I divide, multiply 2 by 5 divided by 2, I'm getting 5a. Multiply 4 by 5 multiplied by 2, I'm getting 10. So I'm getting 10d is equal to 55. And I see that 5 is a common factor here. So I could say a plus 2d is equal to 11. Okay. So what would I do now?
Simultaneous equations.
Very good. So simultaneous equations. I could see looking at them, look, they're ready to cancel out already. So if I call this equation A maybe and this equation B, I could see that A minus B looks something like this, that I have A plus 3D equals 15 minus A minus 2D is equal to minus 11, negative 11. So I can say that D is equal to 4. and then put that back into the other equation. If I know that d is equal to 4, I can say that a plus 3 times 4 is equal to 15. The 3 4s are 12, so it follows a is equal to 3. So I know what d and a is, and now it's asked me to write out the first 5 terms of the series, so I can say what the series is then. So the series must be, the first term is 3 plus, I'm adding 4 each time. First 5 terms. And there's the answer to the question. How does that seem when I do it there?
So the formula Tn is equal to a plus that formula. That what does that show you then? That shows it.
So that's the formula for term n. So I might just go to the formula and tables book. Actually, it's a good excuse to do this. So if you're in the formulas and tables book, okay, you'll see there's a section in it that's sequence and series, and that's on page 22. And on page 22, can you see where it says yeah. Now you notice in the section that says arithmetic sequence or series, there are just 2 formula there. There's a formula for term n and a formula for sum n. What was nice about the last question we've just done, really we were using both of those formula with information that we were given. That would be, I think, a typical type question to expect on the Leaving Cert. That when you see arithmetic, straight away have those 2 formulas ready in your mind